mean, honestly, the whole season was a JD Vance lookalike contest. Welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. So this year's Valentine's Day, we are celebrating the 5-year anniversary of Love is Blind with the premiere of Season 8. So I was feeling optimistic going into Season 8 given that it's the 5-year anniversary. They kind of film seasons really ahead of time. They film multiple Love is Blind seasons at a time. So I figured they chose a good one to make Season 8 and make it this big milestone anniversary moment. But then I watched the first 6 episodes and I was no longer feeling very optimistic about the Season 8, especially because the first 6 episodes are all pods. It's as if Netflix heard my complaints about how much I hate the pod part of every season and actively decided to torture me with 6 episodes, each an hour and 10 minutes long, of purely pods. It's the most we've ever spent in the pods out of any season by a long shot. Like, normally it's 2 to 3 episodes, maybe 4 of pods, but this season said, hold my beer, we're staying in the pods. 6 episodes in, we have yet to see any of the getaways. Like, I am at a heli R point of let me out of here, of the pods. It's exhausting. And to me, what I also hate about the pods is that to me, it's a bad sign of the season to come, and it feels like there's not going to be many successful marriages or couples that even make it to the altar, because if we're spending all this time in the pods and only have a few episodes of Getaway and Real World, then that means that content is not as interesting or there's not as much content. So I'm feeling the least hope than I ever have about the success of any of these relationships. And without any good hero couples, it automatically makes this season subpar compared to others, because the best season always have good hero couples to root for. And even the drama this season does not seem very promising so far. I am not that interested in it. I don't care. I'm not that invested in the people. It's really tough. Love is Blind fans are in the trenches over here with this season so far. So let's talk about the season. This season takes place in Minneapolis. It is a place I've never been before. I've never been to Minnesota. I've heard a lot about it. A lot of people on the season have Midwest accents, which are really funny to me, or like I get a kick out of them. I think they're endearing. But also this season is pretty homogenous. I don't really know how diverse Minneapolis and the Twin Cities are, but if the season is any representation, it is homogenous as hell. Like, I've had a difficult time telling apart the men. So many of them look alike. There's 3 men in particular that look so similar. It's like Dave, Daniel, Alex. Like, it took me forever to understand who was who. Something that's actually exciting about this season is that they have a budget this time around for the music. They have actual copyrighted songs. We had I'm Yours. We had Birds of a Feather. That's so new and trendy. We had Wrecking Ball. Like, hell yeah. Did we notice all the copyrighted music all of a sudden? I'm sure y'all did, For me, I enjoy it because I love pop music and it's exciting to like recognize a song to me. But also it's a little bit bittersweet because kind of the generic copyright-free music that Love is Blind always uses that describes the action going on. It's kind of a staple. It's kind of part of the brand. So it's definitely a choice to switch up the music and that staple of the show. They opened their wallets for the 5-year anniversary. And I keep wondering if this is going to be a permanent change for future seasons or if it's just a special thing for the 5 years. Like, are they going to keep this going using real music from now on? I don't know. We'll have to see. So let me get into these couples. And first, the disclaimer. And we need it because we're going to be touching on some heavy topics, some light ones. And I'm going to be making a lot of assumptions, a lot of judgments. And I'm just feeling a little contentious with a lot of what I saw in the pods this season. But As always, we don't know these people in real life. We are judging this edited persona and narrative that we are seeing on a TV show. We don't even know if everyone's being honest. We've seen so many lies across the seasons. It's really not that serious. It's just a TV show. Starting with Joey and Monica. This couple I forget about so much because they got engaged in episode 2 and then we never saw them again. It's like we put a pause on their relationship until the getaways and we haven't seen the getaways yet. So they seem to have the highest potential to me. They're the only couple that seems like they could work, like there's something to root for there. Their reveal was very exciting. They both have a lot of energy. They match each other's energies. They both bonded on a lot of family stuff and they've made sacrifices for their families. It feels well matched. It feels like things could go well. We do even see in the teaser, which is kind of a spoiler, but it's in the preview right at the beginning, that they will make it to the altar. There are some things in the teaser where it sounds like he has OCD and that's kind of like something that pops up in their relationship and maybe causes some friction or something. They seem to make it past it because they make it to the altar. So they're the only couple I would predict making it to the altar, but they're just not that exciting because we just didn't get to see them that much. Next couple, Sara and Ben. I did not want to talk about Ben yet this early into the video. Ben pisses me off. Think happy thoughts. I am really not rooting for Sara and Ben at all. I really want to like Sara. Something about her gives me kind of like Jenna Marbles energy. I'm not like exactly what she looks like or anything, but she's just kind of like sporty, blonde, spray tanned, and just kind of has this big sister energy to her. And she like plays video games and things. So I don't know, there was a little bit of Jenna Marbles I was feeling and I wanted to warm up to her, but I'm also side-eyeing that she settled for Ben despite them having pretty fundamental incompatibilities with their values. Ben just icked me out so much. He's so like frat bro coded. I'm sorry, but in the current political climate, I'm not going to be nice about this man who is almost 30 claiming ignorance about politics. So this couple's main conflict and incompatibility is that she values human rights and leans more left politically, and he is pretty religious and apolitical, to put it in the nicest way possible. So she has some concerns about their values not aligning. She first brings up her sister, who she's very close to, who is gay, and she's concerned that because he is religious, he won't accept her. And she also has concerns about religious institutions and how they often don't accept the LGBTQ plus community, and that she is just very against that. That's why, even though she grew up religious, she has distanced herself from religion. And in response, Ben claims that he is okay with LGBTQ plus people. He has friends who are that way. So there's no way he could be homophobic. I mean, it's giving very much like, I could never be racist. One of my best friends is black. Just a total cliche that still very much others the lifestyle. But alas, Sara is satisfied enough with the answer, and they continue dating. And then on another date, you guessed it, shit gets even worse. He reveals that he did not vote in the last election. When she asks his thoughts on George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, reminder, they are in Minneapolis where that tragedy happened. He claims ignorance and that he just stays out of it. I hope someday I get to experience the peace that a straight white man experiences on a day-to-day basis, because it sounds quite lovely, to be honest. Like, ask him, gun to your head, who would you vote for in the last election? And see if he considers voting for a certain someone. There's your answer, because I have a feeling that's what it would be. That's just me speculating, but so Sara basically had to pull teeth to get this man to sort of kind of admit he kind of cares about other people, maybe. I don't know. It's just absolutely embarrassing at his big age. Like, the man is 28. 28. Someone in his position of his status, there is absolutely no excuse. It screams that not a single social issue has ever once affected him in even the slightest way, and even if it has affected people in his life, he has not cared enough to do anything about it. Do the bare minimum about it, which is vote in your stinking elections. Trust me, like, as someone who has always lived in a red state, I fucking hate voting, and I hate how it works, and I hate the electoral college crap, but I do it anyway because it's just the right thing to do, and it's just your responsibility. And it's really embarrassing to be claiming ignorance from the platform of privilege that someone like him has. And I would have had a lot of respect for Sara if at this point she walked away. These are pretty huge incompatibilities, in my opinion. These are fundamental values, and his wishy-washy answers of like, maybe I could see some social issues and leaning your way on social issues is not a very convicted answer. It's not her job to teach him to care about other people. But she stayed on course with him, rationalized all this, saw the potential in him to learn, and then later on another date calls him her twin flame. Flop. Twin flame, like, first of all, that term triggers me because I watched a docuseries about the twin flame cult, which is fascinating but terrifying. But also, like, how are you going to call someone with wishy-washy values your twin flame? Like, girl. I do feel like that also speaks to her privilege and how many of these social justice issues also don't affect her because she can very much look past his ignorance of the person she intends on marrying. Like, this is a huge commitment and decision. And she is overlooking this. I feel like that happens all the time, sadly, that women settle for men with very different fundamental values that have no interest in basic human rights for everyone. I have no patience for that, not in this political climate. I don't care. This is not a safe space, and I'm sorry if this is one of you or this hits home to you. Go find other commentators. There's like a zillion of them. Go watch Tammy Lauren or whatever. Is she still around? I feel like she fell off. So anyway, I hate Ben, and I will be rooting for Sara to dump his ass, and I will be very happy if and when she does. Hopefully he enjoys the current administration. I hope it affects him and anyone he cares about. And yeah, I hope Sara realizes her worth and wakes up a little bit, and maybe her sister will come in and save the day, even though that's not her responsibility either. Okay, next is Dave and Lauren and Molly, because Dave was torn between Lauren and Molly during these pods. Dave is another one. He's pissing me off in so many ways. I had so many notes about him because the red flags just kept coming. They would not stop. And I was so mad that two fun, cool women like Lauren and Molly were fighting over this loser-ass J.D. Vance looking guy wearing socks with slides to have serious conversations. I mean, honestly, the whole season was a J.D. Vance lookalike contest a little bit, but he would have won the lookalike contest. Let's just say that. Red flags upon red flags. When he was introducing himself to the women, he would say the same joke to each woman. Why are you here? What's wrong with you? Honestly, that seems like a great question for men entering Love is Blind. Sir, what is wrong with you? You got a girlfriend back home? Secret kids? Sperm babies? Credit card debt? Domestic violence charges? So I found it kind of ironic that Dave was asking the women what was wrong with them because historically, the men are winning in the controversies department. Dave was also making other cringy jokes like that he had an OnlyFans. Okay, guy. Or when Lauren said she was 30, he's like, oh, got it, so you're not attractive anymore? Just kidding. Obviously, we have a saying in Spanish that goes like, entre broma y broma, la verdad se asoma, which means in between jokes, the truth peeks out, but it rhymes, so it's a lot cooler in Spanish. That's a great saying, and it doesn't really have an English counterpart, but I feel like the joking about being 30, no longer attractive, there's a little bit of truth to it because he works at the Botox clinic and plastic surgery and in the plastic surgery realm, and he does say that has affected his views on women's beauty. And also that he's been really shallow in the past. And he makes the joke about her being 30 and no longer attractive again way later in their relationship. So, I don't know. To me, it kind of exemplifies that saying of like, there's a little bit of truth to the joke. Another immediate red flag to me about Dave was in his intro, or one of his first dates or something. He mentions that he has been an ass to women, like treated his partners poorly in the past, and that he is on this experiment to confront that. Sir, have you considered therapy instead of reality TV? I don't feel like going on Love is Blind and making some poor woman teach you how to treat a partner properly and not be an ass to them is like fair to the other person. And the red flags just keep going. Like I said, his last relationship ended with him cheating, and he drops that really casually out of nowhere on one of his dates. He says he would never do it again, but ever since Steven last season, I'm traumatized because nowadays I guess serial cheaters are honest about they're cheating, and that is their new tactic. I feel like before Steven, I would give him more of the benefit of the doubt, like, yay, you were honest, at least, I guess. Now I'm traumatized, and you can blame it on this very show. And then Dave is also on the same wavelength as Ben politically. He is less of a claiming ignorance type and more of a let's hear both sides type. Fiscally conservative, socially liberal leaning type. Are Republicans really that good about saving us, the working people, any money? Or is it just for billionaires? Because my eggs have never been more expensive than when Trump took office. So Dave makes this whole big deal of like, I don't know why it matters to put political beliefs on dating apps. It's ridiculous. Like, partners can have different political beliefs. In this day and age, it simply matters to put political beliefs on dating apps. It simply does, so that certain people know to avoid you and swipe next. Swipe whatever the direction is to say hell no. So Dave gave me the ick every chance he got. Every time I thought I could not be more icked out, he found a way. Like when Lauren delicately brings up her insecurities about him having another connection and kind of like the tension in the girls' lounge, he dismisses her and says, I just don't want to get involved in the girl drama. The girl drama doesn't involve me at all, even though I'm at the center of it. At one point, randomly, he says his right testicle is throbbing. Okay. And his biggest, crime in the pods is he tells Molly she's been his number one connection. Kind of from the beginning. Lauren has been secondary. And then Lauren confronts him about this, and he denies it completely that he ever said Molly was his number one. He denies it so hard, he started gaslighting me. I was doubting my own self and my own brain, and I was like, did he say that? Maybe he didn't say that. I was literally gaslit. But then I looked at my notes, just, a few lines up, and date with Molly, he said she was his number one. The notes were there. I'm still questioning it a little bit, as you could tell. Once Lauren confronts him about this, he starts having a meltdown and crying at the boys' lounge. And then in his breakup with Molly, oh my god, he just came in and was just crying, and Molly had to coax him into figuring out that he was breaking up with her. He was not communicating at all. He was just I don't know, you're just so great. And she's like, so are you breaking up with me? She's the one who had to get that out of him. And she keeps wanting to get him to just say it, even at the end, and he never is clear about it. And then he has the audacity, when he's choosing Lauren, finally, to tell Lauren, I was very clear with Molly. Sir, you didn't even break up with her. You didn't even say any of the words. Let's stop this. Let's not continue. Let's break up. None of that. He just cried until she figured it out. And poor Lauren, she's so sweet. She kind of reminded me of Susie Toot from Drag Race. I don't know why. But personality-wise and her voice sounds a lot like Pam Beesly. She is a former teacher, and I like that she had a moment where she talked about how teachers don't make a livable wage. And I was like, yes, girl, take your moment on TV to call that shit out. And I feel like Dave kept making assumptions about her just because she was a former teacher, and anytime she said anything slightly edgy about herself, like that she got a fuck the patriarchy tattoo, or that she went to Mexico on a girls trip, or that she's taken a nude before, he was just like, what? Oh my God, I never would have imagined. I feel like he was just making a lot of assumptions on the teacher thing. And I felt bad for Lauren. I feel like she had a lot of insecurity issues because in the girls' lounge, Molly was super outspoken about her connection with Dave, and Lauren was holding the cards really close to her chest and not revealing at all who she was talking to. So Molly didn't know that Lauren was talking to Dave until like the end by process of elimination, but Lauren just kept hearing Molly come in after her dates like, it's so good, my connection with Dave is amazing, and Molly's very like outgoing and stuff, so she wasn't maliciously trying to rub it in anyone's face or anything, but Lauren just felt really insecure about her connection. And it was correct because Lauren was his second choice and Molly was his first, and she was getting that reassurance at one point, and Lauren was feeling like, oh no, like I'm being left behind. But then I guess I keep wanting to call him JD Vance, but Dave eventually chose Lauren and broke up with Molly. But Lauren was kind of a dark horse there. She was behind Molly most of the time. Lauren even mentioned, like, I feel like Dave is playing both of us. And he kind of was. But then in one of her last dates with Dave, he came in, he said all the right things. He talked about all his sweet notes he had taken of her through the journey. And he was saying all the right things for her. So she kind of just forgave everything. And he chose her. So I feel like she was happy to be chosen. But then at the reveal, they were so awkward. I don't think he's into her. I think he's into a more plasticky type of girl. Like, he should link up with Brittany from last season. Maybe he'd be into her. I don't think she'd be into him, though. She has standards. But I don't feel like he's into her, and I feel like she's kind of insecure and feels like she won't measure up to what he wants. It's just like, he's a shallow guy, and he came on the show to, like, fix that. But it's not just overnight, over a week. Just because you fell in love through a wall doesn't mean your shallowness magically evaporates. Did you not watch Shake in season 2? I think they are gonna struggle as a couple. I don't know. I'm not particularly rooting for them because I think Lauren's a really sweet woman, and I think Dave has so many red flags and he's icky and I hate him. And as far as Molly goes, she was a single that did not get engaged in the pod. She's gonna be pod squad. I'm sure we'll see her again. I thought she was the front runner, and she was with Dave. And I thought they were going to end up engaged. He kind of seemed more enticed by her because she was a dancer. And they talked a little more about sex in their dates. But Molly, girl, she never had a boyfriend. That's fine, but why are you on the show to get married immediately? Like, talk about 0 to 100. I feel like her and Dave would have been fun to watch implode more than him and Lauren is going to be fun to watch them implode. I would like to see Molly in this role that she's never been in before and just try to figure that out. I don't know, it'd just be more interesting. Molly did earn some of my respect though at the end, how she handled the breakup with Dave, because she was really into him, but she was very calm and chill during that breakup and is very like, if I'm not your person, I'm not your person. She had to coax it out of him and help him break up with her. And then afterwards, she goes and apologizes to Lauren for being so outspoken about her and Dave the whole time, and they hug it out. It's really sweet. And Lauren is like, you know, I blame Dave for putting us in the situation, not you. It was a really sweet women supporting women moment. It showed that she wasn't being malicious about being so outspoken about Dave. It was more, she was just excited, and she seems like an excitable person. So next is a complicated one. This tangled web love not triangle, but square of singles who did not end up engaged but got close. And they got so much screen time in these first 6 episodes. It honestly makes me mad. I'm more invested in these people than the actual engaged couples. Yes, we're going to see them later in Pod Squad parties and events, but that's such a small part of the show, like when they're all together. I just wanted to see more of these couples, even though they were very, very messy. So this is the web of Alex and Madison and Mason and Meg. Madison was torn between 2 guys, Alex and Mason, and then Mason was torn between Madison and Meg. Madison is very much a main character of this season, despite not getting engaged at all. She is a Leo, so it checks out. The main character syndrome is off the charts. And I feel like y'all are not gonna like my opinions on Madison. Based on what I've seen so far on social media, she is getting a lot of hate. But y'all, 99% of this cast is so boring. They are so go girl, give us nothing, that I ended up liking Madison because at least she was providing something entertaining. It is a reality TV show. Like, there was just so much boring. And if you're gonna give me all pods, like, give me some drama. And Madison delivered the drama. Yes, I get that she was cold about her breakup with Mason, but it was kind of funny. Where's your sense of humor? She really said, I'm not killing people, I'm killing boys. I feel like people that are saying she's straight up evil are kind of reaching. Like, it's possible, I guess, but it's a bit of a reach. I get the vibe that she's very used to being in control of men, and also because she has an avoidant attachment style, she is fine to walk away at any moment whenever they do something she doesn't like. It's almost like men are disposable to her, and looking like she does and how she acts, it makes a lot of sense to me. Like, looking at her Instagram, it's a lot of thirst traps in there. And I find her to have a lot of charisma too. A lot of people might argue it doesn't, but she is a type that I feel like is on the show to be an Instagram influencer, but she has the goods to be one and to be really big on social media because of her looks and her personality, and she shows like the right amount of vulnerability too. She's a bit of like a manic pixie dream girl as well in her personality. She has all these quirky things about her. She comes from a tough childhood, and I feel for her. Like, it feels like has some self-awareness around it and has tried healing from it, but I feel like she still has a ways to go as well. I don't know. I have a soft spot for her. Maybe it's because she dyes her hair pink later on, and I have to have an automatic allegiance to anyone with pink hair. I don't make the rules. Maybe I was just very bored with the season, and I was just excited that she was giving something interesting. I think I also have a soft spot for her because Mason did do her dirty by backpedaling on his commitment to her just to save face, and I did enjoy Madison calling him out on that in the moment, calling him out. Like, I do think she thought it was really shady of him and that she was doing Meg a solid by saying what happened and saying in the girls' lounge, like, hey, Mason backpedaled on his commitment to me. Like, I don't think her mastermind evil plan was to break up Mason and Meg. I think she truly kind of villainized Mason in her head because he was inconsistent about this thing, and that pissed her off. And so she told Meg all this, and it was still Meg's choice to make whether she would continue with Mason or not. We've seen a million times on Love is Blind that people have opinions in the pods of somebody, like negative opinions of a guy, and the girl still gets engaged to him. I don't think Madison had all the influence on Meg. She might have added to the information, but it was still Meg's decision to break it off with Mason. I don't know. I enjoy the entertainment she brought. I know people are gonna hate. It's okay if you disagree, whatever. Maybe this is just a support women's wrongs moment on my part, but I just enjoyed that she gave entertainment. She gave me something, and that she's gonna keep upbringing drama later on. This season is so boring. Like, I'm starved. I'm starved. And I hope all the people that said I hated women last season are watching now and are seeing that I'm defending the most hated woman on the cast. So all of that being said, I am still very glad that Alex walked away from Madison. I don't think he should have gotten engaged to her at all. Alex seems like a really nice guy from what we've seen. I'm scared to say these days, but he seems like a nice guy so far. Very Midwestern. I've always been a big proponent on this channel of walking away on Love is Blind. Like, you have not invested that much time, just walk away. Normalize walking away. And Alex seems like a nice guy. He seems to have had a rough upbringing a bit with a lot of bullying in school and stuff, but does seem to come from a more stable standard background compared to Madison's story. Ever since they started talking about attachment styles, he was hesitant about her being avoidant. He is anxious attachment. I think that's a very fair concern to have, and he continues to ask about it and ask about how she handles conflict and things, and he's kind of iffy about her answers. So I think it's very fair that the final argument they have is the nail in the coffin for their relationship. He didn't really seem equipped to support her or help her heal from what she needs healing from her issues. He didn't like how she handled the conflict about, he was validating Mason's feelings in the breakup when she wanted him to validate more her feelings and just kind of like dislike Mason for his inconsistency in her commitment and him backtracking on him committing to her. And he was defending Mason, and Madison's just like, why are you defending the other guy? She was upset, and this argument, Alex did not like how she responded. She was like tapping on the nail. She was like not letting it go. I just think this conflict would have happened soon if they had gotten engaged, and it's just very incompatible. And I think I'm very glad Alex saw that and walked away and was like, this is not for me. And I feel like if they had gotten engaged, like, Madison would get bored of Alex pretty easily. She would probably get upset that she can't control him or can't walk all over him in arguments, or that he's not going to say the right things that she wants him to say. So I feel like this couple would have been doomed anyway. And good on Alex for recognizing that and walking away. It's a big deal. Like, I think even if she didn't like him in their engagement, I think she would have stayed for screen time. I think she's there for the followers and to build a career in that way. And it's a big deal to cut your screen time. And I feel like that makes people seem more genuine when they do back out so early, because it shows they're taking it seriously, and I appreciate that about Alex. So even though I find Madison entertaining and I feel for her in ways, I still think she's a clout chaser, and I think Alex is a real one for calling it when it wasn't working. Like, I wish so many past Love is Blind couples had just called it quits in the right moments when the red flags were popping up. So next I want to dive deeper into Mason and then Meg. As far as Mason goes, I feel like Madison had him wrapped around her finger most of this time, despite Mason having more things in common with Meg than with Madison. I feel like it was in a moment of horniness that he committed to Madison. So by committed, there was just a moment where he was, he had two relationships going, and on a certain date with Madison, he told her, like, I'm committed to you. I think it's you. I'm willing to give you that reassurance now. And Madison was kind of surprised at that point because she was feeling stronger for Alex and leaning more that way. And then on the next date, she had already made things official with Alex, and she was breaking up with Mason, and he was shocked because all the boys just kept secret who they were dating. So they were all kind of in the dark about who was dating who. So Mason didn't get a heads up that his girl was with another guy. So I think that date where he committed, he was horny. He was horny so many times he was talking to Madison, and Madison knew exactly how to play him. Madison is very femme fatale, and I think I don't know. I enjoy like a femme fatale diva in a TV show. So then once Madison broke up with him, he backtracked on when he said he committed to her. He was like, I think that was a mistake. It didn't feel right at the time. But at this point, whether it's true or not, it just doesn't look right. Like, once you're getting broken up with by the person you committed to, of course you regret saying you committed to them. And that, like, now you want to make your other connection work because there's still potential there. And I see a lot of people saying, oh, it's all her ego was bruised and things. And I think it's more like she's, like, judging him from one thing and just labeling him an asshole in her mind, even though what he did was not that egregious. And we've seen it a lot of times on Love is Blind, where someone's first choice doesn't work and they try with the second choice, and it has worked before. So it's like, it was shady, and it's like annoying he's not owning up to like the backtracking. He's not owning the backtracking, right? The backpedaling. I think Madison's just really dramatic, and she just like is now labeling him this huge asshole for doing all this. And I don't think that's the case either. So anyway, Madison does tell the girls, and Meg is there and hears this. Like I said, I don't think Madison was the only influence on Meg. Before Madison said anything, Meg was already questioning and wondering if she was a second choice, and she was very worried about being a second choice and not wanting to be that, not wanting to be a default. Because there was one date where Mason ended it by saying, like, your dates make me confused, and Meg was very off-put by that, and she was just worried throughout that she was a second choice. So I think the Madison comment helped Meg make a more informed decision on the breakup, but I think Meg was already concerned she was a second choice. I don't know, I just feel like putting so much influence on Madison kind of discredits Meg's own autonomy on the decision, because we've also seen people's second choices say yes to an engagement, and it works out sometimes. So it's like, it's up to Meg to give Mason the chance. I think on social media, I've just been like, I've seen so much hate for Madison and a lot of like, poor Mason sentiments. I get that Madison is messy, but Mason was still kind of wishy-washy. And I don't feel that bad, because it is true that Meg was his second choice. That is truth. And it's fully Meg's choice to decide to give him a chance or not. It's up to her. Like, she might be willing to still give him a chance, and she might not. And she decided she didn't want to give him a chance because she couldn't get past being a second choice. And that's fair. And yes, Mason can have feelings for two people. That is just how the experiment goes. Yes, he could really work out with Meg like Zach and Bliss did, even if she is a second choice. But it's still Meg's choice to give him a chance or not. Maybe I just don't like him because he's obsessed with the movie Her. And his favorite movie is Inception? Are we in the year 2013? What is going on? I judge that hard because those are such overrated film bro movies. This is where I come out as an Inception hater. And he also annoys me because he didn't pick the girl who was super compatible with him, who had all these things in common. He picked the girl he was horny for. It's a classic Love is Blind story. You know, one girl has everything in common with you, laughs at all your jokes, loves all the same movies you do. But the other girl said she looked like Megan Fox, so I'm gonna go with her. So yeah, let me finish this tangled up web of mess with Meg, who I've already talked about, but she was a bit of a yapper in the pods with Mason, but I'll blame it on the edit because Mason was very interested in her. I just feel like we saw a lot of her yapping, and Mason just being like, love that. And she would just end the date with, oh my God, we're so made for each other. And I felt like it was just her yapping the whole time. But also, I blame it on the edit because we can't know what their conversations were like. I honestly appreciated Meg as a good match for Mason. I feel like they could work. She really thinks he's a super deep, artistic free thinker. But I was side-eyeing how much she is into conspiracy theories. Like, she is one click away from a rabbit hole leading her to QAnon. She listened to a Joe Rogan podcast. Like, girl, what are you doing? I would have liked to see her and Mason play out. I think they would have been fun. But just like Alex, I really admire her walking away from Mason because she really liked him. But I understand not being able to get out of your head that you are a second choice. And again, it's like you're giving up screen time. You're giving up Instagram followers by walking away. And so that makes me feel like she was at least genuine in her intentions within the experiment. Okay, next, Devin and Virginia, and also Brittany. This couple, Devin and Virginia, ended up engaged. They're a bit boring, especially after seeing their reveal. They didn't have much chemistry, so I'm not rooting for them as a couple. Devin connected with these two women, Brittany and Virginia. He ended up choosing Virginia, who wasn't the front runner most of the time. He honestly had a lot more of a fun dynamic with Brittany and had a lot more in common. Brittany was a former basketball coach, and he is a current youth basketball coach, so they had a lot of basketball in common. And Virginia, to me, was kind of hard to read at times. She kind of feels like the protagonist of a cheesy Hallmark movie where she's beautiful, she has all these amazing career accomplishments, she has a PhD, but she hasn't had time for love, you know? So Brittany and Kevin were the more interesting dynamic to watch in the pods, but their connection went downhill after they had a deep, vulnerable date. Devin opened up about how an injury left him with like this, I guess, medication, substance abuse problem. And I think he sanitized the story for TV, which is totally fine. And then to get out of this very dark place, he turned to religion and God. And Brittany reacted very supportive and understanding about this revelation. And then she discussed her journey with sexuality. She mentioned she had had experiences with women in the past, relationships with women in the past, but that she would prefer to marry a man, and that's how she views her future. And Devin did not take this well. He said he needed time to process, and after that, his kind of interest in Brittany fizzled out pretty much completely. He was pretty shocked. He had never been with someone like that before, which felt kind of icky. It was just not a supportive response, and it was kind of sad. And Brittany very much picks up on this, and at their next date, they break up. She says he's not her person. He's on the same page. They're both in agreement here. And I do feel like Devin genuinely took it at face value and wasn't interested because there's this worry, I feel like, with men like this that have this degree of homophobia. There's this worry that she's gonna want to be with women or cheat on you with women, despite her being very clear that she is monogamous. However, on her end, this is a very nuanced conversation, and it involves some speculation, and it could be or could not be. The way she spoke about her journey felt like she's very much still on it, which is very valid, to use the buzzword of the season. It's valid for her to be on this journey actively. And it's also very brave of her to talk about and disclose her past experiences with women on TV. But there were certain ways that she was talking, like her emphasizing like, oh, everything needs a label nowadays, but never labeling herself as anything. And she mentioned she was in a past relationship with a woman where she saw a future together, and Brittany did not. The other woman did see a future together, which makes it seem like it was a pretty serious relationship, I would think. That's making an assumption. As someone in queer media, if you will, I got the sense that she still has some untangling to do in the sexuality department, maybe before she pursues marriage. She also talked about being raised very conservative and sheltered. So I just feel like there's just things to unpack there. I just really hope she's not in a you gotta stop the world just to stop the feeling situation. And this is not at all to say that bisexuality and pansexuality and preferences don't exist, because they absolutely exist. This observation is solely based on how she specifically was speaking about her experiences with sexuality, and this is all based on a very edited TV show. I don't know her, I'm making assumptions, I'm speculating. It's very nuanced and I hesitate to even bring it up, but it is something that I noticed, but I'm really wishing her the best. And Devin is inconsequential to her, and I really hope we see more of her in the future. And also, like, good for her for the representation. We rarely get queer representation on Love is Blind, whatever her sexuality might be, if she ever decides to label it or not. It's still fierce, and it's queer representation, and I'm glad she was there, and we are begging for a queer season of Love is Blind someday. I hope we get it. I really hope we get it. So back to Devin and Virginia. They're boring. Their reveal was pretty awkward. She kept, like, not making eye contact. She kept saying, like, thank you to all his compliments. She kind of just didn't seem that into him, but she's hard to read. She was also kind of using this baby voice that was kind of off-putting, and I don't really know how to interpret it. I mean, maybe it's just their personality, because they're both kind of soft-spoken, and I feel like I may have seen one of their weddings, so they might make it to the altar. And I mean, I guess they'd be the second couple I'd expect to go to the altar. And our last couple is Daniel and Taylor. This is our Christmas couple. They gave each other, like, Christmas themed gifts. They talked a lot about Christmas. So that's that. Daniel kind of looks like a younger version of current Leo DiCaprio, but not like young Leo DiCaprio. Does that make any sense? And his big thing is that he's insecure about being 5'8", being short. And I was rooting a lot for Daniel and Taylor. If we didn't have the weird expose at the very end, I would be rooting for them the most. They seem the most compatible. If you saw the trailer, you saw part of this moment, and it's the couple that the girl is saying, oh, I think he knew exactly what I looked like this whole time in the pods. And because I had seen that trailer, I didn't know what it was about yet or who the couple was, but I was trying to look out for any hints, and there were moments in their pods and their dates that Daniel would say, like, I can't believe we've never crossed paths in the real world, or like, if you have to leave to take care of your father, I'll find you in the real world. He kind of mentioned a few times, like, crossing paths, and it was kind of weird. But because I had seen that trailer, I was like, is it going to be this couple? And then it was. And at the reveal, it's a little shaky. It kind of seems like she might not be that into him. She says the quote of, like, oh, I'm struggling to match the face with the voice, which is usually code in Love is Blind for, like, I'm not that into him physically. But they don't have the most awkward reveal either. Like, there were definitely more awkward couples. So it's a couple that could have gone either way after the reveal, and they could have made it work. But then we get this really bizarro update at the very end of episode 6, where it's like at the hotels where everyone's at, and she's telling the story to the camera that after the reveal, she felt he looked so familiar, and that she remembered that he had perhaps sent her a follow request on Instagram, and that she had looked at the profile, and that she describes a specific photo kind of like as evidence for this, but we don't see the photo, and they have not gotten their phones back, so it's like we don't have evidence there, and she's just describing the photo. He's like in front of the Christmas tree with a drink in his hand, cross-legged. So she's crying. She feels very betrayed, like, oh, he knew what I looked like the whole time, which I do think is like cheating the experiment. She also is kind of implying that maybe he stalked her because she had identifying info in her profile, which the identifying info is very generic, to be honest, like faith, family, Taco Bell, and nurse. So do what you will with that information. So I don't understand if she is implying she was stalked, or if she's just more like he cheated the experiment, or both. Like, I don't know what the accusation is, and she confronts him about it, and he is deny. She is saying, well, you unfollowed me anyway. And she asks about the Christmas tree photo, and he's like, I don't have a photo like that. And she mentions they had mutual followers or mutuals. They had moots. He's denying everything, but also he looks guilty, and he kind of looks like he got caught. So I'm kind of like, what is the truth? And I'm very annoyed about this whole thing, because I hate like all the confusion and the mystery around it. Like, this is not fucking Severance. Just tell us what is going on, because I don't understand what is the accusation, what are the implications. Production, show us the damn photo if it exists. Show us the show us some graphics. Just give us the information, because right now it's a big cliffhanger, but it's like confusing drama. Like, is it anything? And then in the teasers, they are on the honeymoons anyway, this couple. So it's like, did it matter? So I don't know what that bullshit was, and I'm annoyed that I have to like think about the hints and try to piece it together, because I get enough of that from my favorite show, Severance, right now. I'm over the confusion on this scene. I think everyone's confused, and it's just like, tell us if he's guilty of something. We want to know. So anyway, after an hour of hating this season, that's all our couples. Sorry I've been such a hater this video. It is what it is. It is a spicy time, and I'm in my spicy era. But it's not that serious. It's just a show. Like, who cares? Who cares? Let me know your thoughts on the season so far. Are you a pod lover person that is very ecstatic about the format of the season? Are you a pod hater like me and dying inside about how much pods we're getting? So I'm excited for what's next, way more than whatever we just saw, and excited to keep chatting with y'all about it. Stay tuned on this channel for more parts covering future episodes, and then live streams when we get around to the finale and reunion. I hope you had a happy, fun Valentine's Day. Happy 5-year anniversary to Love is Blind. Let me know if there's any type of Love is Blind retrospective video I should make. Netflix was doing this big poll about the most iconic moments of Love is Blind, and then I tried to do the poll on stream and it was down at that time, so I didn't get to do it. I was thinking I should just make my own, like, ranking the most iconic moments, like top 10, like Miss Mojo type stuff, you know, like top 10 most iconic Love is Blind moments. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos whenever I feel like it about TV, pop culture, internet trends, and the miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at Miscellaneous to keep up with me, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!